I'm Doris Allen. I'm a porcelain artist, and I'm doing this home video just to give you a little idea of what it is that I do. This is my palette with all the colors mixed that I'm going to be using in this painting. This little vial here is how I get the colors, and it's porcelain ground very fine. I mix it with the oil and apply it to the palette. This is the porcelain I will be painting on. What I do is called overglaze painting. It has a glaze on it. I go into the medium, which is oil of copaiba. I use a square shader brush, it's very flat, and start by applying this. I'm going to do roses, applying the center of the rose. Take some of the color out and then just blend. Then I form a bowl of the rose by just bringing the paint down, coming around on the shadow side and bringing it together, and there you have the bowl of the rose. Then I start forming the petals. And I'll do these all around the rose, just using the color that I had on my brush. I don't want a lot of color in the petals. And there you see the rose is primarily formed. Then I take my silk, I use a pure silk cloth, and just wipe out what I don't want. Wipe some highlights out of the petals and just soften it so that I don't have hard edges. Then I'll begin by putting a little color around the rose. Mallard green. It's sort of a turquoise color. And this is called the background. And as you see, this starts looking more and more like a rose. And I'm going to put a little bit of shadow under the shadow side of the rose, bringing it down into the petals. I used the same color that I applied up here. Now I will go into another color. I'll use a gold color to come down below here. Again, just forming strokes around the petals and bringing the strokes out so that it forms a pretty clouded look around the rose. Now I'll get a darker color and I'll put a little bit of brown green with it because I want more depth up in here. And again, I'll come into this portion. Then I'll take my wipeout tool and I'll just stroke this to get the petals formed. Take the silk, come back and wipe out the highlight once again and cut a few cuts into the center. I do that on an angle 1, then I come across like a teepee to form more. And that's the beginning of a rose. Now I'll form another one. I want to do it in the form of an unequal triangle. So I'll go back into the red and form another center into this area. Take out some of the color and repeat. I'm just going to bring some of this color out. Forming the petals again on the sides and the back. Now you can see something starting to happen here, and knocking out some of the color, softening it as I go. And again, take the cutout tool and wipe out the centers. Then I'll begin the background on this one. And I'm going to use the same color that I used down here, I'll put up above. That was the gold color. I call it sunshine, putting a little sunshine in the painting. And again, forming the color around the roses. Now I'm losing a little bit, I need more color. Values, they call that. Into the top. You have to get 3 values in everything you do. Light, medium, and dark. That applies to all kinds of painting. Again, I'll use the mallard green. I'm going to start now by adding another rose. I'm going to drop it down here a little bit. So I'll start again with the center. And once again, take the color out, beat it out to where it's lighter, softer. Once again, form the bowl of the rose. Bringing the color around to the side, bringing it up here, and again, adding the petals. Now when I paint for demonstration, I paint faster than I would normally paint. If I were alone and just painting, I have more time to look at it and figure where I want to place the roses and more of what I want to do with background and so forth. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going fast. Again, using the silk, take out some of the color just to soften. Now I'll start with the background again. Gold color, adding it here. They call this seesaw. You put the gold color here, and you seesaw here, and you seesaw there. And you do the same with all your colors. I'm just fluffing the paint in to get a soft look. Again, I'll use the mallard. I want to anchor the piece that I'm painting to the frame of the tray, and I do that with color. I just anchored this rose here to the edge of the tray. That's so that it doesn't float. And I want to separate the two, so I'll put a little green on my brush and go between the two, so it forms a shadow. And that's how I began a painting. This would be called a first fire. After painting this, I would put it into my kiln and fire it at 750 degrees. I usually leave it overnight so that it's nice and cool when I take it out of the kiln the next day. And then I begin my second, we call them fires, the second application of paint, at which time I would deepen everything and start doing the leaves. But because I'm demonstrating to you, I'm going to try and do some leaves for you now. To form the leaves, I'm going to use this scroller. That's what we call this brush. And I'll do it by going into a deep edge here and just putting down the outline of a leaf, like so. Then I take the square shader again and bring that mallard into it, to a deeper green for the edge. And that's forming a leaf. I'll take out some highlight. You want your values to be the same on your leaves too. You have 3 values. And to form a vein in the leaf, I'll use the scroller, going into a deep color, and just, I don't want it to be very noticeable, but I want it there. So I've put just a little color in that. Hope you can see this detail. And that's how I form a leaf. Now I'm going to do some more for you, and I'll show you how I do a stem. First I'm going to do just something right in here, just to give it a little better balance. Okay, I'm using green again. I'll go into the mallard and do the comma. Mallard. Put a little gold in him. When you see leaves in nature, they're all colors. They're not just green. They're gold and red and pink and more. Again, I'll take the silk and do the highlights. Gotta always put the highlights on a first fire because you have to save them through the entire painting. Sometimes I'll take the little pick and just sculpt them like that. Just give it a little fine touch. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I would do for a stem. I go into the browns, a little bit of green, and I think I'll do one up in here. So I want to show that it's coming out of there and into this area. Then I'll go back over it and maybe stroke in a different direction, like so. You get the idea of stems back there. Again, I wouldn't do these until I was on the third fire, because if I didn't like the placement, I could take them off and start over. But I'm just doing this to show you how it's done. And maybe in here I would do a little rounded branch coming up this way. Double it. Put the little thorns in. But that's about it. Well, I hope that you enjoyed our little visit here in my studio in Studio City, California. It was a pleasure doing the demonstration for you, and I hope that you learned something about porcelain painting. Till next time, thanks for watching. Bye.